surrounding skin because, it's not going to hurt healthy skin, and then you make sure to get every last little bit of the burn area and not omit anything. And I've done that many times on sunburns. It draws out the pain immediately, and the pain in most cases does not come back after you wash the poultice off. If you do have to wash it off to go out or something. But leave it on as long as you can get away with it. And the pain doesn't come back in most cases. And you just put it on once, and the skin will get a little darker, and friends will say, wow, you got a really bad burn. And it's actually just the healing process that the Comfrey initiates in the honey, and it'll make it appear darker than it originally was. So you could start out with a barely pink burn and end up having it look not bright red like my shirt, more like a deep kind of a burgundy. And that's just an effect of the healing process. The burn did not get worse. It's just the way it heals in this particular case. So don't worry about that if you try that on a sunburn and it gets darker. It's just healing more quickly than usual. And that's probably from increased circulation and who knows how many other things going on in there. But, not something to worry about or to fear. And then drink lots of water. And that burn will heal in record time, and sometimes you won't even peel. Whenever you have a sunburn, you almost always peel. But most of the time when I use the Comfrey and honey, I don't peel at all. And I very rarely get sunburns, but every once in a while, especially at high altitude, it's very easy to do, and I'll just get away with a very mild burn, and I'll put the Comfrey and honey on it right away, and no problem. And it'll heal in about half the usual time. It's amazing. Comfrey is also called knit bone because of its propensity for healing fractures, and not just little hairline fractures, but even what they will call a green stick fracture or a twist fracture, where the bone basically splinters into mini pieces. And depending on how bad it is, there may be independent pieces floating around in there, or it could just be a bunch of linear fractures, really bad fractures. If there's multiple fractures, if the bone is sticking out through the skin and you have to go have it pinned back in place even. There was one little girl Dr. Christopher worked with. She went out into her parents' garage without permission, was playing around an engine block that he had elevated on an A-frame. I'm not sure exactly what the word, but an A-frame, engine block holder. I'm not a mechanic, but had it elevated up there. Somehow she knocked into something and it fell over on her, and the engine completely crushed her pelvis. And it didn't just fracture it, it pulverized it. That sucker was in dozens of pieces. And the doctor said, the damage is so extensive here, there's nothing we can do. And, okay, engine puller, thank you, Nan. Yeah, a little help from my friends. Always handy. And so the doctor said, there's nothing you can do, or nothing we can do. And sometimes they'll even tell you there's nothing you can do. They don't know that. That's arrogance speaking. But they'll tell you there's nothing they can do. That's the truth. Or nothing they know to do. And he says, we can't even get in there and pin it because there's no pieces big enough to pin. If we put a pin in there, it would just float around with everything else, and there's nothing to work with. And so, she's just going to be a cripple for the rest of her life because this is too extensive a damage to heal. And the parents didn't want to give up, so they took her to Dr. Christopher, who is a master herbalist and naturopath, and he actually founded the School of Natural Healing, in case you wonder why I keep mentioning him. And he's one of the great pioneers of natural healing in the last century in America. Him and Dr. Schultz and Samuel Thompson and a number of other folks, and they're the ones that really brought herbology into the 21st century. And so Dr. Christopher said, yeah, we can work with that. He never promised exact results. That would be kind of irresponsible. But he said, yeah, I think we can work with this. Let's give it a shot. I think at the very least, she'll be in less pain. And at the most, we might actually, bring this back to normal. And so let's just give it a shot and see what happens. The parents said, great. He taught him how to make a comfrey poultice and put it all over her entire pelvic area. He basically had them make kind of a cloth diaper kind of apparatus and smear it with the comfrey paste and put that all the way around and back, in front, between her legs, everywhere. Just cover the whole area with comfrey paste. And after a couple months, her pelvis had completely grown back. They went to the doctor for x-rays. He said, this is incredible. I can't believe this. This is a miracle. You're doing some kind of magic here. What is this? And they told him, and of course, they're always like, oh, herbs, oh, please, they can't do anything. You must be nuts, or there's something else went on, or, they just assume all of this. We think medicine is scientific. It really isn't. There's medical science, and then there's medical practice, and medical practice usually does not listen to medical science. Even though they've been able to find out a bunch of cool stuff, it doesn't get into common practice for at least 50 years later. And so actually, the most advanced medicine now is medicine from the 1960s. So just think about that next time you go to the doctor. Just a little interesting perspective adjustment there. And so let's see, where was I going with that? Oh, so her pelvis completely came back, and she walked and ran and had a completely normal life. And so, this is one of the most dramatic cases I have ever seen or heard of, but, that's how Comfrey is. It's an awesome healer, and it helps the body to come back from seemingly irreparable injuries, seemingly hopeless situations.